And record.
Hello, everybody. Heather here.
And I'm Tom, and you're sitting at the couples table.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
The Couples Table is a live stream podcast show here on my channel where we are
At a table.
podcasting. Hold on. It's join us for better or worse.
Oh, that's why you showed me the description.
You have to say that one.
Yes. Wait. Join us for better or worse, for richer or poor,
In sickness and in health.
as long as we both shall live.
Ta-da!
A long live stream.
Yes. Aaron's here. He made
Yay.
it. Hey, Aaron.
So what are we talking about today?
Okay, so here's what we're talking about today, guys. I don't want to say quarantine because I don't think that's the appropriate word anymore. Because I don't know whether we're in quarantine or not. I don't know what's happening anymore. But one of the things that's been top of mind for Tom and I is whether schools are reopening, because obviously Tom is a teacher, and it has been something that's been stressing me out as a wife of a teacher who, Tom is a very, very passionate teacher, and I'll pass the baton to him after this. But
the baton.
I was like getting nervous that, he would have to go back to school and everything was just supposed to be as if nothing is happening because what's her position, the education lady.
Oh, for the Federal Education Department of Education.
Yeah, the one who's in charge of
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so
Her.
She shall not be named. What is her title?
She's director of Department of Education.
Yeah. Okay. So she is ordering schools to just open as if, 5 days a week. Kids should be in school. They're already falling behind. And I think if there's hot spots, then each district can adjust accordingly. But basically, that's the direction from the top. And although our county is relatively low in cases compared to the rest of the U.S., compared to the rest of the state, compared to the rest of the state, I was going to say the world, but that's not true.
No, that's not true.
Yeah. I think we have a lower percentage or ratio of people who are, who have tested positive and all these things. But anyway, it's been like, I don't necessarily want, Tom to just go back and the fact that we've been quarantining this whole entire time and now he just has to go back and, and who knows where everyone's been. And it's just like, there's so much contact with everybody. And, I've been kind of just on edge wondering, okay, so are they going back? Are they not going back? And, there's been a verdict on that and Tom can talk more about that, but it's just interesting. I think what we wanted to spend this episode talking about is there is a global pandemic going on. It is still happening. And, I think people, for whatever reason, people are deciding how other people should be reacting to it. And these are not necessarily people in leadership. And I'm just curious. We wanted to share how we are dealing with this new normal as we're still going through a pandemic. But we also wanted to ask you guys, like, Aaron, you're in another, part of the world. Like, how is your life, or how are things going on in your daily life, in where, the place where you live? Like, are people wearing masks? Are they not? Are bars closed? Are they not? I just kind of want to take a pulse because here
it is a mess.
It's a mess, but in the house, like, nothing has changed. Like, nothing's changed from March, April, May, June. Like, we've been here, and every time we go out, we wear masks. Like, that's it. We went to IHOP once
before it closed again.
Yeah, and that's it. So anyway, I'm gonna check the comments.
Okay, let's jump into comments.
Okay,
come back to.
You want
to answering the question?
Okay. So first of all, Aaron says hi. We said that.
Yes.
James and Mark, Ollie shirts. Patricia, love the Ollie shirts.
We gotta
No, I know. Okay, go.
So these aren't Ollie shirts, but they are Corgi shirts.
Yes.
And they're from the channel Vlog After College. check it out on YouTube because it's a guy and his corgi. Just
It's like one of my favorite
Yeah.
YouTube channels right now. Vlog after college.
if you just want to feel good about things,
I'm going to add it to the comments because you guys have to just
enjoy it.
just watch one of his videos and it'll just put you in such a good mood. It'll make you feel good. And Gatsby, this is Gatsby.
But in the black and white image, it could either look like Ollie
But
or
it kind of looks like Finley, yeah.
So it works for us too.
But support your local creators, guys. Buy their merch.
Yes. And Aaron's is a really important one. It's a new mic cables. Yes. New mic cables tried to go on brand.
Of
I got
course
blue
he
and
would
Heather's
notice.
got purple.
That's awesome, Aaron. Thanks for noticing. It really makes Tom feel good about that. All right. Aaron says, I do not envy you guys right now. We've been really fortunate in Northern Ireland. Oh, you're in Ireland. I thought he was in the UK for some reason.
He's in Belfast.
Oh, we're now down to 0 daily cases, but the news from the US seems really bad.
Yeah.
It's a mess. Mona, good vibes. Same to you. Aaron says, I'm avoiding going out as much as possible, but when I do it, I wear a mask. I seem to be the only one most of the time, though. It's pretty disheartening.
Yeah, I think locally we're pretty good. Like the big news now is that Walmart is causing people or requiring people to wear masks starting on Monday. And like I know like it's Walmart, like it's hard to get people to wear pants sometimes at Walmart, but at ours, like people everywhere we go, like everybody
people
pretty
wear
much has a
masks.
mask on. Maybe I don't even know that I've seen.
But
you'll see the person like pulls the mask down to like talk on the phone or something.
To be fair, though, we've only gone
we've
only gone a
handful of times.
2-mile radius from where we live.
Yeah.
So I've heard like in Palm Springs, people are not abiding.
Yeah, I don't know. Locally in our actual neighborhood, people are doing a good job.
Oh, here, you'll appreciate this. James and Mark are listening in the car and the sound is so crisp.
Nice. You gotta bump that bass for our voices.
Aaron says, I'm pretty fortunate. I can do most of my work from home, but I'm still missing being out in the car every day. Oh my gosh, me too. Oh, I miss podcasts.
Yeah, it's hard. That's what I was gonna say. Listening to podcasts is hard.
And like music.
I just got recommended a whole batch of podcasts today that I was excited about, and I was like, I have to like make time to make sure to listen to these because I don't have a built-in like.
Aaron says Northern Ireland is in the UK. That's a whole nother video.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Why did you tell me?
I thought I was wrong. I don't want to be. I got I did a video a few weeks ago where I did a joke, and this was just a joke that was like off the top of my head. It's not an original joke. Siri on my watch told me, but it was just really quickly that was like, oh, there's if you want a great sound engineer, get European ones, get one from Latvia and get one from Czechoslovakia. So you have a Latvian and a Czech one too. Czech one too. And then I just got bombarded with comments like Czechoslovakia hasn't existed for 30 years and it's the Czech Republic. And I was like, I didn't actually really like know the subtleties of that as me, but also like it was just a joke, man. It still works with Czech Republic. It's the same like joke.
Linda Porras is here. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Mona says, all parties have valid points and concerns. As a parent, I relate to why some parents are pushing for the return. It's impossible to work from home and have a toddler, but I also want us to be extra safe.
Yeah. So,
well, hold on. Let's catch up and then you can launch into how you feel. James says, when we went to somewhere more remote, about 60% wore masks. And Patricia, thanks for being here, Patricia. We also don't know what school will look like in September. Canada.
So, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, my local school district and pretty much all of the local school districts in the last couple of weeks made the decision to start school online only. And then as things improve, transition to a hybrid model where you're on campus sometimes with not the full student body and then off campus. And I don't know exactly how that would work. And then eventually transition to just normal school whenever that's possible again. And then just yesterday, the governor of California basically issued a mandate that any counties who are on the watch list, which essentially means they have enough cases where it's concerning, which is most counties in the state, need to start school fully online, which is, again, like most of the students in the state of California. And to get off of online education, they have to be off the watch list for 14 consecutive days, which is probably not something that's going to happen soon. I mean, it's going to be online school for a while. No one knows how long.
Well, honestly, this is just from social media.
Oh, hello.
And we're back. Because we don't go out. So the only impression that I'm forming this, that I guess that I'm forming this impression is from social media. But I get the feeling that there isn't a concerted effort towards reducing cases anymore, like there was in the beginning. Like, quarantine was something that everyone was like, okay, we're staying home. We'll get through this.
Yeah,
there
we're
was
going
like
to learn how to bake bread.
Yeah, there was a united front for everyone to be home. And I don't know at what point that just stopped, but it seems like every time I go on Facebook, every time I go on Instagram, people are just out, which is fine. But I also think that if people are going out, it's really hard to reduce the number of cases.
I mean, we basically got put in timeout by the governor because we got in trouble for not listening. That's like what happened.
And
really.
Unfortunately, so you guys know, I was chair of the Indio Chamber of Commerce. Like, I'm very pro business, and I understand, as a business owner myself, who's also, felt the effects of this economy. I want businesses to be able to not die. Okay. Like, I'm 100% for that. But also, I feel like it was like, if we had all just listened, then we could have all opened. But it's like we kind of half opened, hoping that people would stick to the rules, and then they didn't.
Of course.
And that's what makes me, I don't know, frustrated.
It is frustrating.
Really quick, let's check in. Mona says, I'm in NYC, and right now we are reopening school with partial in person and virtually and fully remote. Patricia says it all may change too if other waves happen in the fall or winter.
Yeah. And that's, I know my school district, well, right now, again, everybody's online, but when that switches and it's hybrid, parents do have the option to choose to keep their students online the whole year. I don't really know like how that works in terms of staffing, but if a parent doesn't feel comfortable with their kid going to school, they don't have to for the entire school year. They can do it all remotely. But the flip side that I've been hearing a lot is where people want their kids to go to school and they want them to be in person and in class. And some people feel really passionately about that. And like Mona brought up about, it's if you're trying to work and get your stuff done and now you have kids around the house all day, like how are you, or if you have to go to work, but you also have a small child, like how does the logistics behind it are mind boggling. And I have a lot of opinions about that. I don't know how many of which we need to share today, but I do fully think that given the circumstances, at least where we are, starting online completely makes sense. It's not, and this is coming from someone who really wants to go back to school with students. Like I want to work with my students in the classroom like normal. This year especially, I have several classes that I've been with for years, including the senior class I've been with since freshman. And I want to, like, there's so much I want to do with them, and it kills me that it's getting like hobbled because of the circumstance. I mean, I like cried on the couch the other day when I was trying to explain to Heather about it.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't want to, it's that we can't because I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a thing here. It's because a big argument I've brought up is like, oh, well, education is essential. But like, so if a grocery store worker goes to work, then a teacher should go to work. If someone goes to Home Depot, we should be able to go to school. And all that tells me is that those people don't understand how an actual classroom and school environment works. The state's guidelines yesterday said that when people go back in person, everybody needs to wear masks. So how hard it is to communicate to anybody, much less a large class of students, normally is tough. When your mouth is covered and what you're saying is muffled and no one could read your lips, and now you have to be projecting your voice, it's even harder. And then on top of that, you're supposed to stay 6 feet away from students, when every teacher I've ever met literally was taught that the best way to improve your classroom management is via proximity, which means the closer you are to your students, the more on task they will be. Of course, the teacher walks by, you like do the work. I do that at the gym, like when we're in a class and the instructor comes by, I punch a little harder, and like it is the best way to control things. And now we're not supposed to, and it doesn't matter because we're not doing that stuff in person right now anyway. But point being that also in a classroom, the amount of like, you're not going into a store. I've worked at grocery stores. I've worked in retail stores. I can fully say even my clean classroom is a far like germier place than the stores and stuff that I'd worked at in the past, just because you have so many people confined to such a small space for such a long period of time. And I mean, every parent, every teacher's seen it. One person gets sick, boom, everybody gets sick. And as a high school teacher, I see all these numbers and it makes me laugh because people are like, oh, you just want us to go back to classes of 26 kids? And I'm like, are you kidding?
I know, that'd be a dream.
I have over 200 students, and two, like our normal class sizes range from 40 to 50. So like, and some of the physical space that I'm in with my students is literally designed for 32 or 33, and I have classes of 49. So
there's literally no way to maintain.
Kids are sitting on the floor. Kids are sitting like on top of each other on the counters.
And you guys, like, the first time I met Tom, or like, the first year I saw him teaching when we met, I was a guest speaker that, one day, and I couldn't believe that kids literally were sitting on the table they were leaning up against the counter the whole class because there are no like desks for them.
It's not even like there's a shortage of desks to get more desks. There's nowhere to put the desks. Plus, then keeping things ADA accessible. Kid in a wheelchair needs to get through.
Yeah. I was like, oh, the whole time they're just like that. Like, I would hate this class if that was me. Well, and it was just one. It was a few kids.
That's all and at least in my class, we have different like working areas. So when we're not together for a workshop, we can split into different areas, and doesn't have to be like that the whole time. But during lectures and workshops and guest speakers, that is kind of how it is. And point being that is a very tough environment. Even if you reduce the number of students, even if you use an alternating hybrid schedule where half the kids are there and half of them aren't, that still means you're with 20 people in the classroom. I think I heard an average that was 17 is kind of like based on the square footage, what it would be. That's a lot of people that are coming from different places with siblings who are going to different classrooms with other different people. Like, it's just...
I mean, I love high school kids, guys. Okay. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Like, I enjoy their energy. I really like being around.
We watch a lot of anime that takes place in the high school year.
Yeah. Okay. But here's the thing. Like, if you look under Tom's desk, it's covered in gum, despite,
I clean that off once or twice a year. I go there with the scraper.
But despite it being a super harsh punishment for you to be chewing gum in the classroom, the kids still do it, and they still are gross and throw it under the thing
that people do.
Yeah. Or how many kids violate dress code on the broadcast, even like when they know they're going to be in front of
spaghetti
admin.
Straps. My God, trying to wear a lanyard that just has their ID tag on it is like we're supposed to monitor as they come in.
And like, obviously, I want to give high school kids the benefit of the doubt. They're just being high school kids, but I also feel like that could apply to wearing masks, maintaining a safe distance, like for the first day, okay, and then it's just lackadaisical from there.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's a bummer, but it's the right move to keep people safe, and that's the thing. And I have seen and heard a lot of animosity towards teachers for this, and it's like, well, if you don't like it, quit. This is the job you signed up for. I signed up for my job. And it's like, there's no global pandemic clause in like, we're all just figuring this out. It's also like, it is your kids. We're not doing it because we don't want to teach your kids. Like, it's just, there's so many things beyond our control. Everybody's, I believe, in good faith, trying to do the best they can with what they got. And parents,
it's
want
really
their
hard
kids to get a good education, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'll save that thought for another time. Okay. Aaron says, from an outsider's perspective, it seems like the USA is the worst possible country to have a pandemic in, precisely because so many rail against the idea of being told what to do. That's what I said. Yeah. I was like, Americans just do not like being told what to do.
Yeah. It's
as soon as you tell them, like, you're taking away their freedom. Oh no.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, that's a whole mindset and shit. And that's what we saw. What Heather kind of talked about is like, it was almost like when summer hit, everyone was like, well, I'm tired of pandemic. It's over. I am tired of it. And it's like, yeah, I'm so tired of this. But now I'm really mad that all the months we did were kind of for nothing, because now we're just back at less than zero.
The common good is a stronger cultural theme in other parts of the world, especially East Asia. The stronger a country has ties to socialism, it seems the easier they find it to comply with the rules.
You know what? There's
well, that, and like, I mean, I forgot who said this. I think it was my brother, but we were talking about how like in Asian culture, they wear masks regularly. Like if you're sick, you just wear masks. Like pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
this was just something that you did, and it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't something that you had to explain why you were doing it. It just was like,
well, beyond that,
like if you have a cut, you wear a Band-Aid. Cool. You don't have to explain anything. You just do it. And for I don't know, whatever.
There's a show we just watched on Netflix called Down to Earth that Heather's brother actually recommended to us. It's like Zac Efron's travel show about green energy. But the first episode was about Iceland, and I went to Iceland a couple years ago. You went a year before me, and then we went to Switzerland. That's really the only time I've been to Europe, but I've talked to people from Europe before. And while visiting those countries, what I noticed was people use the we a lot, especially Iceland. And I noticed it in the episode of the show. And I was thinking about it because it's literally like, oh, we take our water and we pump it so it even heats the pavement so we don't have to shovel snow. And I remember hearing people talk like that when we were visiting. And it put this thing in my head of, whoa, all these people, like this whole town to this whole country, they're all kind of on board with working towards this thing. And they're just an understanding of that's how it is.
It's just ingrained in the community.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is a result. It was shockingly noticeable everywhere we went. And I think that's what Aaron's talking about, where it's just people understand like the common good. I want my thing and I want to do my stuff, but I also want it to be better for everybody. So
I was listening to an episode of Criminal, one of my favorite podcasts. Well, it's probably my favorite podcast. But they were talking about this. I think there was someone from Namibia. She was a lawyer, and she was talking about how it's the total opposite there. It's all communal. So like if someone commits a crime, the whole community gets together to try to correct them and reintegrate them into society. Whereas here, like there's such a distance between that criminal and us. Like they, it gives, I think Americans are known for their drive and their independence and like, they like, I don't know, stick their head in the sand, become super successful or whatever. But it's not like, oh, so if someone's failing in the system, do we recognize it and do something about it?
Well, it's also
which is a whole I mean, philosophical.
There's also the
situation.
thing of like America is physically massive.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of people here, and we're very spread out. So it's one country, but it's like 50 countries, and then
Okay, really quick. James and Mark says agreed at Aaron. The fact that the pandemic has been turned into a political issue has been part of our downfall.
It's insane.
Aaron is asking, how are the kids feeling about going back to school? Have any of them communicated their perspective to you?
Yes. So they're bummed. I have students that kind of just reach out and stay in touch pretty regularly. So what I'm actually doing, the way, it's really tough. So what I figured is we're not going to change this thing. Like aside from the fact I actually agree about starting online, but it doesn't matter how I feel because it is what it is. And so you can sit there and rail about it on Facebook or whatever, or you can just do what you can with the cards that you've been dealt. And so I've been trying to use it as an opportunity to do something a little different. I kind of have been feeling super excited about, okay, if we're doing everything online, some of the benefits to that, for me at least, as a high school teacher and with the subject that I teach, is I kind of can be a little more thorough because I'm not doing in-person lessons, which are great. But the problem with in-person lessons is you've been there. It's hard, even with a great class, to get through one or two sentences without having to go, shh.
Yeah.
Okay? Like and just pausing.
It's constant interruption.
You can't. I mean, that's literally why I started my podcast, was so I could get through thoughts without being interrupted. Was the reason, as a reaction to that. So the fact that we're doing things online, I can record a video just like I do for my YouTube channel. I can edit it. I can make sure, hey, this is the thing, how we do this. And I can show a close up of exactly what we're doing that everybody who watches it can see. It's not the kids in the front or whatever. They can replay that. They can listen to it with headphones. They can, they can get that info if they're interested in a much clearer way than they probably actually could in the classroom.
Yeah. I mean, like if you guys watch the Enthusiasm Project, like he'll teach you about this roadcaster thing, and just imagine that same experience being in person with other people. There would be so many questions, there'd be interruptions. And whereas, if you watch Tom's videos, you guys know he's super detailed about like, okay, I'm pushing this button. There's a close up of that button. It's like, it's just all the fluff is cut out and it's exactly everything that you need to know.
Well, it's also just like the phone will ring 5 times
Yeah.
in the classroom, and then I'll be in the middle of a critique, and literally some kids I don't know will just walk in and stand in front and be like, "We have a note for so and so," and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I usually get kind of rude when that happens. But point being, I think like, okay, great. So delivering lessons, we can do that combined with live stuff like Zoom. I'm gonna try to kind of be an example of students of how to approach a non-ideal situation with a positive attitude. So like next week,
That's so good.
next week or this upcoming Wednesday, I'm having like a Zoom session for any students who want to join, where they can just throw out ideas of stuff they want to do, stuff they think they could do while they're at home. We can kind of touch base with like, equipment is very different than what we normally use. So what do you guys have access to? What do you think is reasonable? Like, what are some fun things that would be helpful? What do you actually need? If you're a junior, you're going to need these things. If you're a senior, you're going to need these, freshman, whatever. So I'm hoping that they can be involved with it. I'm building a whole website where it's like the easiest. If you're in my class, you just go there. Everything you need is there. And
he's been working on it
for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
And I think that that's going to be easy for the students. I think it's going to let me do something different. It's going to let me be really thorough. And I'm hoping that it's also something that's going to be like a positive example, because for parents who don't want online learning, they're looking at what happened in the springtime when everybody went home, forgetting that the mandate, literally, at least in California and our county and stuff, was essentially like school is optional. So teachers are working, and we were there and we were putting in, time and doing lessons and stuff, but kids literally didn't have to go to school, and we weren't even allowed to give them grades unless it was going to raise their grade. And so kids were like, I cannot go to school. We told kids you don't have to go to school. And then everyone was like, what? When the kids didn't go to school?
It's like, if you don't have to go to work, are you going to go to work?
Yeah.
I mean,
and this isn't that, because there's attendance, there's daily attendance, there's actual official grades that stick on transcripts. Like it's
Mona has a good question.
It's actual school.
Well, first of all, Aubrey's here. Hi, Aubrey.
Oh, hey.
Mona says, what do you think of the argument from some parents that infection rate is low in children?
Well, there's a difference between being like infected and symptomatic versus being a carrier. And the amount of exposure that students have to other students, to adults, to other families, it's just, literally, they could literally be a carrier. It's on my hand now. Like, I touch my teacher, and even though I'm not supposed to, but I'm 6 years old, so I'm going to, and now they have it. And it doesn't even matter to me. Maybe I'm not going to get infected because I'm 6 or whatever. Although I've heard different statistics about students, about children getting infected. But either way, students can definitely be carriers.
Well, that, and I think when people are talking about this, I think they're imagining like an ideal classroom situation that is just getting to school using the buses.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much touching going on, people from everywhere. Like, I don't even understand how the kids would even get to school.
One of my most recent posts on my classroom Instagram was one of the computer monitors in class, because it's just covered in fingerprints. And I literally have a whole presentation at the start of the year that I refer back to multiple times about lab care, where it's like, don't touch the screens, blah, blah, blah. And if you look at that picture, I did it because I was like, I miss you guys. Like, look, here's memories of like the people who are here. And I posted that on our like program social media as a joke, because the kids know how much I hate fingerprints on the screens. But if you look at that, it would look like, well, this guy clearly must clean these computers once a year. And the answer is no, twice a week at least. And sometimes they'll look like that by the end of a day. And those are older students,
yeah, exactly,
with a teacher who's super anal retentive about cleanliness and are constantly being reminded. And lots of kids will literally clean their own stuff, and it still ends up that gross. And that's, on top of they're sharing keyboards, they're sharing mice. That's my classroom. But if you look at another, what is a library going to do? Like books, textbooks?
I don't know, dude.
There's so many, and those questions still have to be addressed at some point. But when you look at that, it's just like, yikes. That explains why maybe we all can't be together in one spot.
Mona says, USA has a me selfish culture. We saw that yet again with all the toilet
oh my gosh.
tissue paper towel hoarding during the pandemic, which was it's so sad.
It was so annoying because when it got to the point where we actually just needed toilet. Here's the thing about Costco toilet paper. We're a family of 2. We don't need to get into this too much, but I know these numbers might change for larger families. Realistically, we have to buy toilet paper from Costco once a quarter.
Yeah.
maybe 5 times a year. It's a lot that you
Maybe.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what these other people were doing, but when the whole thing started, we had plenty and we're like, okay, we're fine. And then eventually when it ran out, we weren't hoarding. We just like needed toilet paper. And now you can't get it because apparently, I don't know what everyone was doing. Everyone just started going to the bathroom a lot more or whatever. And Heather was trying to explain, she's like, maybe it's because people are working from home. They're running out.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
How much were they using the bathroom at work though? Like,
okay, Amir's here, Afsar Law Group. What's up? He says, hey, you two, the loss of freedom shouldn't be taken lightly. That said, your freedoms can be limited when there is a legitimate government interest and the restriction is the least restrictive means.
I mean, I'm just in favor of, if someone told me you can't go outside, you can't go to the store, you have to wear a mask, and I'm not telling you why, I'm going to feel ways about that. But
Yeah.
if somebody says, oh, there's this thing that's going around and killing people, and you can prevent yourself from getting sick and other people, you can help prevent it by, you know, wearing this thing, by staying home a little bit more, I'll be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
Well, it's like the seatbelt thing I keep saying. Like, no one has to make a statement when you wear a seatbelt. Everyone knows why you wear a seatbelt. You know, most people will probably not get into an accident. You still have to wear a seatbelt. It's for your safety, right?
Yeah, you can still get injured in a car accident while wearing one, but you know.
So I don't know. And I know
we don't
that
have the answers.
Yeah, and I know that like what from what I know, when seatbelts first like were in cars, it was voluntary to wear them, and then people didn't wear them, and then that's why it became a law, because people were just like, oh, you don't need to wear them.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 1965 that seatbelts were required to be installed in cars, and I know this because
how do you know this?
because my dad had a 1960 truck at one point, and in that truck it had seatbelts, but there was a big like retro sticker. It wasn't retro because it was just from that time, but it said like, this vehicle is equipped with seatbelts. Like,
and it was like a big deal,
like a thing, and it was like a feature. And they were just the ones that went around your laugh. It wasn't anything crazy. And I wondered, like, why are they advertising seatbelts in this car? Cool, and he explained, like, well, because when this car was built, it didn't have to have them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Damon Buenrostro Gonzalez. It's unfortunate that this country and its culture has been built on the idea of individualism and putting others down, exploiting others to make it. I have a lot of thoughts about that.
I have so many thoughts.
I think, you know,
yes.
America is innovative. We're driven. I mean, there's a lot of great ideas and businesses and, you know, things that have come out of that because of that mindset. But unfortunately, like, when it comes to, I don't know, the thing is, when the pandemic first started, it was great to see people like the Some Good News Show by John Krasinski. That was not a show just by him. He like took content from other people doing these really cool things to help other people. And it just, I was like, see, I like it.
Positive thing.
Yeah, I like seeing people unite to, even if it's something as small as spreading a smile.
That's her favorite thing.
I love that ish,
teamwork,
oh my
groups
God.
working together.
I love that. I freaking love that. But I don't know. It just feels so. I mean, I have my theories as to why.
There's a lot of whys, but it goes back to that idea of like, if someone else is winning, it means I'm losing.
No, yeah, like someone doesn't have to lose in order for you to win.
Yeah, exactly.
But for some reason, some people feel like they're winning when someone else is losing.
Yeah, there's that. And I don't know. It's a whole mindset thing of, yeah. And we've talked about like Matt Diavella is a YouTuber that has gotten really successful in the past few years. He like focused a lot on minimalism, but he's also got like a filmmaking background. But he did this whole thing when he first kind of was like making it big on YouTube, where he said he calculated his annual expenses, which were like, to live the lifestyle he wanted, which he was used to, he needed $56,000 a year, which is not a lot,
not
really
extravagant.
It's not hard to make $56,000 a year. And so when he was going out independently and like diving into YouTube and stuff, he was like, okay, if I can get this many people to sign up for Patreon, that's all I need, and then I'm set. And his attitude was, that's all I need, and then I'm set. And it wasn't like, I need more. But through sort of that authenticity, you know, he blew past that goal. Like, I don't even know how many times over. but that wasn't the goal, was to just keep growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. Like that whole thing. It was just like, this is my goal. This is what I need to get there. That's it. It doesn't need to be this, like, I need everything on earth to be mine. It's just sort of, I don't know. It's just, I like that approach to it. And I like the fact that, at least in his case, just going for that put him in a position where he did things so well that then it helped him exceed that.
Right.
And it doesn't mean no one else is successful on that platform. First
of all, Aubrey says she loves the shirts. Aubrey,
These are
you need to
comfy, too.
go watch Vlog After College. It's one of our favorite YouTube channels. It's a really good reference too, but it's merch from that guy's channel, Ryan.
Aubrey is in our YouTube mastermind.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Aaron, I feel like a lot of the American attitude is driven by your news media, which is overly fear-driven and sensationalist in nature. It just encourages me versus them mindset.
Did we ever talk about why I stopped working at the TV station on here?
I'm sure. Oh, I don't know.
I know we have, but I don't know if we talked about it here. So my very first job was
I remember
working at a local news station. I started as an intern when I was 15. It was supposed to be 2 months in the summer. It ended up being 6
guys, how did you get that job?
I sent a letter in the mail.
15-year-old Tom working it.
Yeah, and what it
so
was
cute.
I sent a letter in the mail to all the TV stations, and one replied back, I think because I said I'm a freshman, and they assumed college. And so when I went to the orientation, it was me and a bunch of college kids, and I was like, they did not think I meant high school, because I was a freshman in high school. And I guess, I don't know, it was 2001. It was May of 2001, and I don't know, everyone was just cool with it, I guess. No questions were raised, and then I worked really hard. But point being, it was very interesting to work at a TV news station pre 9/11, during 9/11, and post 9/11, because the way they approached everything really changed. And the thing that kind of, I after a couple years, I had reached a point where I was getting really stressed, because it's 24/7, 365. Like, the news doesn't take a day off on Christmas. And the crazy thing is, good news oftentimes doesn't get good ratings. So if you watch the news, it's not a lot of some good news. It's a lot of like, this terrible thing, that terrible thing, this terrible thing.
I so wish it were just like, here's all the happy things happening.
Or just like, man, like, nothing happened today. Here's a classic movie. But that's never going to happen. And the thing that I was getting stressed out just by that, being in that environment a lot. And one day, I remember it was a Saturday, and I was interning in the production department, and I was out in the newsroom, and it was empty because, like, I don't know where reporters were. There was just the assignment editor who was sitting at like the desk. So he had his big desk in front of everyone, all the little desks there. And the assignment editor would kind of get all the different stories, get all the different leads, and give them out to photographers and reporters to go, to go get them, turn them into stories. And the assignment editor that day was like kind of stressed out because nothing was happening. And it was getting closer and closer to the afternoon time. And, he was supposed to put the outline of the show together, and there wasn't going to be a show because there was no news. And he was really feeling stressed. And then they had all the police scanners that they were listening to. And over the police scanner, there was an announcement or emergency thing that there had been like a multi-vehicle collision on the freeway involving like big rigs, and there were multiple fatalities and injuries. And I just remember, across the really quiet newsroom, I heard that announcement. And then I looked up, and I just saw that guy go, yes. And I know that's because now he's like, boom, like his job is done for the day. He knows what he needs to do. I don't think it was because he had no value for human life, but I remember, I don't know how old, I guess it must have been like 19 or 20. And I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like that that's the reaction to tragedy. And now these people have died today. Their lives are over. Their families are distraught. And now we're using it to sell ad space. I didn't like that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's how it is, because even like, with the less tragic news stories, like, I don't know, someone on YouTube like Jenna Marbles just quit YouTube recently, and all the headlines that came out about her quitting YouTube were just so like, they were so spun in a way that was obviously, you're first of all, you're just writing the story to put her name in your damn news title for the search,
Right.
And then like, of course, you're going to spin it like it's this crazy controversy. It's just, we don't have the answers. We're not trying to solve that problem, but unfortunately that is a symptom, or not a symptom. What is that? Like feeding the thing, contributing.
A contributing factor.
A contributing factor. Okay. Let's see. Aaron says seatbelts in America were heavily promoted by Ralph Nader, the best president you guys ever had. Never had. Simply opposite. I'm about to lose my mind here in Georgia. Just like seatbelts, motorcyclists wearing helmets became a law and people went crazy, even though it was a safety issue. See, and that's the thing. I think just as a collective, Americans don't like being told what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch YouTube all day, but as soon as someone says, Tom, go watch this YouTube video, I will not watch
of course.
YouTube video.
I get it.
It's like
But
homework.
I just feel like this is a unique situation. I don't know. Let's see. Mike Mina says, I'm late. I'm scared to see live politics. Good luck. Living here in New York, we are serious about the mask wearing. Haven't decided to open school yet. We will see.
We're trying not to dive into the political side of it because I also don't want to have those discussions online, but really more the like, this is where we're at and kind of how we're coping and hearing how other people are coping and other people's thoughts. That's really like what we're going for.
Because like, yeah, the thing that annoys me about politics, and this is the only thing I'll say about it, is I feel like, especially in this time where we're all only communicating with people that we don't know using the most like, least touch point device to try to get on the same page or maybe not, is that, it's really hard. There's a quote from one of my favorite books, which is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the first one is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And it's really hard to do that over social media, which is how we're all connecting right now.
Yeah.
And that's what really annoys me about politics, regardless of which side you lean, because I think regardless, left is thinking the right does this, the right thinks the left does this and whatever. But the reason why I think Tom and I even brought up, should schools reopen? Should we be talking, should this be a topic for the couples table? Is not only is he a teacher, but, I was reading a lot of stuff online that parents were really pissed and calling teachers lazy and,
crybabies.
Yeah,
that's
really
one that got thrown around a lot.
Like, it was just really frustrating to see parents like just have this impression of teachers. And I obviously I'm biased, but honestly, like even not counting Tom, because I know a lot of teachers, every teacher that I know is heartbroken that they can't go back to school and is doing the most that they can, like doing what they can to try to engage. I mean, I've had so many teachers reach out to me. Heather, you're the world of YouTube. The kids love YouTube. Help me. What can I do to try to make distance learning more engaging? I need to understand their world. Online video is their world. What can I do?
Yeah, I'm not putting myself out, but like summertime is unpaid time. So all this website building, all I'm talking about is not paid time. There's no paycheck coming in. And I know I'm not the only teacher that's doing a version of that.
Right.
As soon as every teacher I know found out that things are online, and probably prior, they all kind of snapped into action of like, this is what it is. Now what I'm going to do. And that's outside of paid contract hours.
Right.
And that's because, and I don't want to, I really don't want to hold that up as like, the more you work outside of your hours, the better you are as an employee. But I want to use that as like, teachers are really dedicated, and
I think it really takes a certain person to dedicate your life to like, the youth development.
I'm going to also just stick up for public schools a little bit, because I've seen a lot happen over the past few months, and it's so interesting to me. It makes me happy, but it's also been a little confusing. So our school district, and I might get these numbers a little bit wrong, but last that I have been updated or seen an update, since schools closed in March, just our district, not the whole region or the state or anything, just our district has provided, I believe it's over 2 million meals for free to students and their families, because for so many kids, the only place that they eat is school. And when they stopped going to school, there was a huge concern of these kids like aren't going to be eating food. So several times a week at different school sites, and other districts are doing their own versions. So these numbers just get bigger and bigger as you look. I only know my area. You can just drive up. Basically, anyone under 18, there's no verification of like, do you actually
where's
have
your
a student,
ID
whatever.
or anything? Yeah.
Just anyone under 18 or parents go up, you get not just a meal, but meals for multiple days, 3 meals a day for multiple days to feed the students and the families. And that the logistics behind organizing that, which by the way got off the ground, I think the first week schools were closed, and is like still going throughout summer, is insane that that's a thing that happened, and it's totally free. And I remember, it's a thing that makes you feel good, but as soon as they were announcing that, it kind of boggled my mind, where I was like, I'm so proud of the people I work with stepping up and doing this, and the system that I work for being willing to care this much. But I was like, that's what I was kind of
if
boggled.
Schools are closed.
We have to feed people now. But also on top of that, I mean, there are literally, I know my school site, and this is not unique, if students need clothes, if students need laundry, there's resources on campus to get those things to them for free. If they're out of the basics, they can get, literally, there's backpacks, like survival kits, that will be given to them that have all the essentials, all the not hypoallergenic, but the hygienic everything they need to clean themselves, take care of themselves. There's food, they can wash their clothes. I even know that time to time, like, the PE rooms get opened up privately for one student at a time to like shower and like be safe and clean, because they have no other way to do that. And these are things that schools have just done, for
provided
decades, where it's just, you would kind of think the kids come here to learn, they get books, they get knowledge, they take tests, they do projects, and they leave. But this is literally like, you need food, we give you food. You need clothing, we give you clothing. You need resources to find shelter, we'll give you that. You need, like, all of these things are here. I mean, it's for free. It's obviously at the cost of like paying taxes, but it's just provided to you, and it's provided with at no questions asked. It's not like you have to prove a need or anything.
Explain or anything.
Say no more, and it's yours. And that's just how schools have functioned for so long, that it does boggle my mind, where as soon as the school system says, we want to be extra cautious here and just make sure more people don't get sick and that our staff doesn't get sick, that suddenly it's like, you guys are
lazy
crybaby wieners and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what? Are you kidding?
Yeah. So it's very frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
Just, and then knowing it's frustrating, and I didn't want this to be like, this is how amazing Tom is or anything, but it really hurts to like see Tom like work on all this stuff, try to make the most of the situation, keep in touch with the kids, try to get them on board, try to make them feel a part of the process, to maintain the connection, all of these things that he's being so proactive. And then you'll see the comments from the parents of like, he's lazy. Yeah. And I'm just like, man, like, I mean,
it's such a,
I don't. So see, I was seeing Mike here, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I feel like this is missing, where if the parents just saw what was happening, like saw what you were doing, I feel like they would be excited that you were trying all these things.
They might feel bad. It's still not ideal. It doesn't fix the what do I do with my kid. But
nothing is ideal right now, we need to, the whole point is that the circumstances have changed, whatever they are, and we need to adapt. We need to adapt. And there's the whole like, but it's always been done this way, or, let's go back to normal. I mean, regardless of pandemic or not, that's a bad mindset to be in. Right. So, I don't know. Anyway, frustrated. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to the comments. Aaron says, I'm sure you must have heard, if it bleeds, it leads. Yes.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, Linda corrected you. 1968. Mike says, I used to be a high school teacher, and regular colds travel so fast, I'd be scared to live in quite a few states.
Yeah.
Yep. James got her card in the mail.
Oh.
Mike says, seeks for to understand, and that's great. Heather, totally going to tell that to my students. I teach at university level. Mike, I would highly suggest the book by Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I really think that every single person in the entire world should. I think it's a manual for being a human being. It's so great. That's where I got that quote. Aaron says, gamify learning. If kids watch their online classes, they unlock a secret TikTok video or something else. I know nothing but pretend to seem cool. Yes. Like, I mean, but that's not the problem. You guys can figure out how to do all of that. Yeah, you can figure out how to motivate students because you've been doing this since day one. Yeah. But it's more of like, when the school district is coming up with solutions, obviously they have to hear everyone who's a part of the table, right? And then part of that is listening to how parents feel about it. And
I've heard a lot of like the school district just, I'm not, I'm sending my kid to private school because the school district's not getting I don't want them, they just want money for my student being there, and they're not going to get a penny of my money. So I'm putting my kid in private school. And it's like, that's just not.
Yeah, well, like the private school I used to work at closed super early, like way before you did.
Well, they're also closed.
Yeah, and they're not opening. Are you kidding? So like, I don't know. Maybe that's just here in SoCal, but
yeah, I mean, it's a regional thing, but it's just a tricky road to navigate. But the point is, yes, you can gamify it and you can make it super fun. And I think that,
I mean, here's the thing: like anyone can operate under set parameters, right? And it's not your job to set the parameters. That's the district, that's government, that's leaders. Yeah. But as soon as it's like you said, as soon as you guys got the order, like, okay, it's online learning for the first, however long, all of you guys got to work.
Yeah.
You guys just went.
And that was with literally, like, it might be for 2 weeks. So, there was no like plan for the rest of the year. It was just, we're going to survive a couple weeks, survive.
Literally, like, a friend called me whose friend is a teacher at LAUSD and was like, I need to, he needs help learning how to do YouTube. And he's an English teacher. So not digital media. Obviously you have an advantage and everyone knows like you're all, tech with all this stuff, but he is an English teacher at LAUSD at a very, a lot of LAUSD serves, low socioeconomic,
600,000 people in that district or something.
Yeah. So, the kids have it tough there, but still he's making do in the middle of summer, trying to figure it out.
And to just go a little further, I know my school's been doing online summer school this year because there's still summer school, but can't go in person. Online summer school, just like school will be in the fall, is based on accountability. You have to show up, you have to do the things. And one of my teacher friends is like helping to oversee it on our campus and says that for the most part, it's working great. Like kids are showing up. If you hold them accountable, they will rise and be held accountable. But if you tell them you don't have to go to school, what 16-year-old is going to go listen to some boring lecture over a crappy internet connection when they could not do that?
Yeah, of course.
I would not opt in to like, oh no, of course. So, but yeah, when you have time to develop something when we're all on the same page, we have to do this, we have to do it together, and we're going to get through it. And it goes back to seeking to understand. We just finished, actually, we watched an anime called The Promised Neverland.
Yes, so good.
If you're not an anime person, doesn't matter. You should. It's great. Watch it.
You need to watch the show.
There's one season out, so we watched it because it's in Japanese, so it's English subtitles. But we wanted to know.
No, they have an English version now.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
Babe,
Babe,
it got a context.
Sorry, go.
So we watched that season, but we wanted to know more, so we got the whole manga, like the graphic novel version of it, which is 16
20 oh yeah
20
16
bucks.
Right now.
Okay.
20 in total.
20 in total. So we read the entire series, and then we went back and rewatched the first season in English to see it again, and it's just so good. And we don't need to spoil anything and get into it, but essentially, if you want like the whole teamwork, working together thing,
so good.
This is a show.
It's a little scary though, so just.
But one of the protagonists is this girl who is, everyone kind of makes fun of her for being naive because she always wants everyone to, she wants to like save everyone, include everyone, fight for everyone, and she can be, brutal and tough when she needs to be, but her default is like everyone. And there's a point in the story where there's, essentially like a villain who has just been ruthless and basically committed unforgivable after unforgivable act. And they have their little head to head. And she's like, why don't we just stop? Like, if you think about it, like if we grew up together, do you think we could have been like friends? And she's sitting there like breaking it down as this person is another person. They've had these experiences, but under different circumstances, things could have been different. Do we have to continue down this road? Could we come to an agreement? And it was like, that's at a point where nobody else would think that, but that was just that idea of like it. I mean, you teared up when she was reading it, then I got to that part and was like tearing up a little bit because it's just the idea of someone seeking so hard to understand someone, even when there's such a difference where there's no good reason you would think to try to do so.
Yeah, and like this is what annoys me about politics is because I think this is a generational thing because I have a lot of friends that are older. I think just being in the business community, you know, I look up to these people. They have years of experience. I consider them my mentors. A lot of them are right leaning, and if you can't tell, I'm left leaning. But they're so vocal on Facebook about how like the left and the Democrats and, you know, name calling and all this, and I just watch it and I'm like, so do you mean me? But I know you respect me and I respect you. Okay, so here's a better example. One of these people posted something on their Facebook that was like, oh, millennials are, you know, lazy or something like that, or entitled or something like that. I think it was a list of like millennials and all the bad things that we're known for. I could not help because the comments were just like, agreed. What's, you know, this is the next
Keeping
generation.
in mind, like millennials are in their 40s at this point.
Whatever. This was you know, I would say like 2 years ago. But I really respect this guy, and I know he respects me. Like he's a big fan. And so I commented. I felt like that we already understand each other, so I felt like I could comment, and I said, "But I'm driven. I'm ambitious. I have big goals, and I feel like I've done a lot." And then his response was, "Oh, but not you."
Of course.
Everyone except you. And I was like, but I feel like you could say that about so many things, you know, like I think if it's really hard when you're on social media, but gather everyone at a table, you know, I think that more people have more in common than they think.
There's more that unites us than divides us.
Yeah. I don't even know how and why we went down this road.
Because it's just the seeking first to understand.
But okay, so let's see. James says food and distribution has surged as a huge need for our families and seniors for my work. Yes, right. I'm
in the
sure.
nonprofit sector, it's wild, but in a way, I mean, that is heartwarming when it's so many organizations, schools, and others see these needs and then just step up to
just go, to
meet them. And
how do
they
we help?
They don't wait to be told to do so. They don't wait for
a
mandate. They don't wait for anything. It's just like, okay, shift, do this because it's the right thing to do.
Mike Marquez, hey guys, me and Mrs. are both teachers here in NYC, so we're lucky in that NYC is good with helping families in need. Our students have resources available. That said, I'm skeptical about September. Well, that's good. I mean, so my best friend lives in New York, and I've always, you know, whenever we catch up, I'm always like, so how are things in New York? How are things in New York? Because you guys have had it so much harder, especially compared to where we are. And I always ask her, so like, no one goes out, right? Everyone wears masks, like they all abide by the rules. And she was like, yeah, you stick your head out the window and it's quiet. I mean, I don't know now, but I was, you know, I wish it didn't have to take seeing it to believe that it's happening. You know, it's like, you know, the coronavirus just terrorized New York, and I feel like it was just easier for everyone there to be like, okay, it's real because they saw it. Whereas here, you know, people are still saying, I don't know anyone who's ever had it. And so now it's like they get into oh, it's a hoax, just inflated numbers and all these things. Right. So anyway, Mona, we need to adapt, but support needs to be provided. It's not realistic for most parents to homeschool and have a career, so the government needs to pay for a nanny for each parent. Unrealistic, I know. How do you feel about that suggestion?
Well, I know that when our school district made the decision to go online, they had mentioned that they're working on provisions for something to do with childcare. I don't know what the details on that are, but I know that, like, obviously that is it's a concern because parents have to go. I have heard, and this isn't helpful in this situation at all, but one thing I've seen where parents are saying the schools need to, some people go like, why aren't the parents mad at their employers for not providing any provisions for taking care of their family in a time of crisis? It's not helpful in this situation. It doesn't change much, but I kind of go like, okay, well, what if, you know, you have a student that now has to stay home because the state is forcing that to be the case? Maybe there should be ways for employers to provide support, and the school, which is already like stretched real thin, providing all kinds of support, you know, maybe like can't just provide every bit of support. I don't know, but that's tricky.
Dan C. Bearded is here. Hi, Dan.
Speaking of teachers.
Oh, yeah. Dan's a teacher. So we're just talking about how school is going to be in September.
I mean, we're talking about how we're coping with
Yeah.
things right now. Obviously, for us, school's a big one because it's a big one.
Yeah. Aubrey's asking, what's the manga series? It's called The Promised Neverland.
Excellent.
It is so good. I can't even explain how good it is, but it is
It's a little bit violent-ish.
Tiny bit scary. You'll see, why very
with first episode you'll see.
Well, I mean, if you read the manga. Anyway.
First chapters, I don't know.
Aaron says, I keep trying anime shows, but I struggle. Tried watching Avatar Last Airbender for the first time this evening. I'll try a few more episodes, but I might be kidding myself. I'm too damn old. Oh my God, Aaron. So I have...
So you're not.
Yeah, because... So I'm 35. I have heard so many good things about Avatar Last Airbender, and I'm 2 episodes in, but it's very hard right now to get myself to watch it. People keep saying, just keep going. Like with any show, it takes a while to get into it. But yeah, I'm not.
Here's what I'll say about
into
anime.
It right now.
Having been a high school teacher for a long time, I've been around anime kids a lot, and I've always just sort of been like, that's not for me. But what I learned was that when you say, not you, but when somebody says they don't like anime, it's almost like saying I don't like music. You're like, well, okay, all music or genres of music, styles of music. And anime is, I think, in the US and maybe anywhere except Japan, animation is so relegated towards children's entertainment. Like if it's animated, it's for kids. Maybe you'll have something like a Pixar movie that can appeal to wide audiences and parents can enjoy it too. But for the most part, it's animated, it's for kids. In the world of anime, it's just a way of telling stories, and there's so much you can do that you just couldn't do in live action, budget reasons, physical reasons.
I love seeing how much of a fan you are.
Yeah, well, because I mean, you can watch an anime that is literally like the most slice of life thing in the world, where it's just people going about their day, and then you can watch something that is ultra fantastical, crazy, and to just say like to put them in the same category, they're not related other than the fact that they're animated. And the thing that I have seen with anime is so much of it deals towards like universal themes, regardless of how supernatural or down to earth it is. And so much of it, there's such good artistry within it. There's such good storytelling. I know we lean heavily towards newer things because the visuals and
because it just looks better. Yeah.
It's so
but
good.
Seriously though, with like whether you're going to do the manga or the anime, if there's one thing I could ever recommend, it's just watch The Promised Neverland or read it, however you want to do it. It's just such a great story, like just storytelling. It's such a great example of amazing storytelling where everything just comes back. I mean, I'm sure you could say the same thing about like a show like Breaking Bad or something, but it's so good. It does not matter like how old you are or anything. It's so good. Okay. Anyway, Mona says it's just such a hard debate. We can't tell either side to deal with it, as that's insensitive because folks have real concerns and needs. Yeah. And, I think that's why social media is hard, because people just go in either like full attack or full defensive. And there's no, there's no dialogue. And that's the problem, because everything has to be this statement. And, I'm a huge social media proponent, but I will definitely recognize this as like, it's sad that this way of how we treat each other is just normal now. Like people are just kind of used to it and expect it, and they're okay with that. And I don't know, it just makes me sad.
And there's the idea too of like needing to recognize that everybody's needs are different, which is like, I can't tell if that feels almost anti-American, as we were talking about earlier, because it's sort of like, well, if you're getting this, then I want that too. But it's also like, there's so many people in America who are like, that's communism. So I don't know what it is, but the idea that like somebody who has several children is going to have different needs and different concerns than somebody who has no children. And, I think that it would be okay for somebody with no children to say, oh, okay, like I'm good over here, I don't need help with this thing. But somebody who has several kids and needs help to say like, well, I actually need some help over here. And somebody else who has several kids, but for whatever reason is in a situation where they don't need help, they're like, I got kids, but I'm good. Like
And it's fine. Like there doesn't have
Yeah.
to be like someone is better than the other, or, you know, there's no judgment. It's just like, this is just how it is, and we're all
I
gonna
wish
deal.
that's kind of the approach we could take. This is where you're at. This is what you need. Okay, here's your stuff. This is where you're at. This is your stuff. Okay, cool. And it's just
World peace.
yeah.
Okay. Mike says, "Hey, Mike Marquez, I'm in Brooklyn. Oh, nice. Oh, you guys should like connect."
Socially distant.
James and Mark. I think that's why I have veered away from posting political views outwardly, because I know the feeling I get when I read some of the ridiculousness people I know put out there, for sure.
Yeah, I try to keep my stuff kind of close to the chest and just let it guide how I
the way that it
handle
is
myself. But
yeah, I think the reason why I don't post anything about those views is because I'm more than happy to like tell you on here where we are having a dialogue. I'm I'm talking to you guys. We are going back and forth. Once everything is clear, you want to go out to lunch, let's do it. But because everyone has this knee-jerk reaction of like when they read one sentence on Facebook, it's like there is no dialogue. People just take it for face value, and however they interpret it is however they interpret it. And I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. Like, I would rather, if you want to get to know me, let's hang out. Let's spend some time together, because I think that you'll realize that, yeah, we probably do lay, or like have different stances on things, but we can get along. That doesn't mean that it's me versus you.
Right.
Like, why? I don't know. Aaron says, I should probably say I love stuff like Miyazaki, Ghost in the Shell, Akira. I think it's the TV series I have a harder time with.
It depends on what it's, because some of them, like the ones we've been mentioning, a lot of them, either the whole series or seasons are relatively short. And
yeah, it's not like several seasons long.
Yeah, I know there's some, they're like 600 episodes or whatever, but a lot of them, it's like the whole series is 12 episodes. And you're just like, that's just a great little story. And now
Mark is so many episodes deep for Avatar. Wow. Does he like it? I'm trying to get through it, but it's like just knowing that the show is made in the 90s. It looks like it was made in the 90s. It's really hard for me to be like, I could watch this show, which I know is good, but I haven't gotten to that part yet. Or I could watch this show, which like just.
There's also this thing where there's certain shows we watch together where we will only watch them together. And there's other shows where it's like Heather will jump in because she thinks I'm not going to be that into it. But most of the time I'll be doing something else, and I'll kind of like, I'll ask you questions like, wait, so what's happening here? Or like, what's the deal? Like, I'll be kind of paying attention, but I'm like, no questions. It has not like piqued my interest.
Yeah. Aaron says, my girlfriend loved the show called Yuri on Ice. I just had a blank stare for most of it. Okay, good. I've seen that one. I tried. I think I started the first 20 seconds of it, and I was like, oh, it's so old. I can't like get through it. So, but I know it's good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Neverland, Demon Slayer. Terrific.
Yeah. The Promised Neverland, though, guys. Like, I really hope, I wish that people could watch it. You will be so pleasantly surprised. It's so good. Anyway. Mike, Tom, I facilitate media making workshops for faculty here at Columbia University. I talked about your podcast as a potential medium, or I talk about podcasts as a potential medium. Literally used your video on PodMic as part of the FAQ about mics to buy.
Yay. These are good mics. I really
Dude,
love
that's
that.
awesome.
I know that is cool. And I didn't even, I mean, the potential with podcasting and distance learning is pretty huge.
Oh, yeah.
Because it also gets kids,
I didn't even think about that.
It gets kids, they don't have to be at the screen. Like, okay, here's my lecture.
That's a good idea.
Here's a podcast. Just pop in your earbuds and go exercise or like clean your room or whatever.
That's such a good idea. I didn't even think about that.
How much easier would it be for teachers to record audio than to have to deal with the whole video setup?
Oh, why? You should do that.
I will definitely.
I was only thinking video.
I mean, video's nice, and there is a thing.
Well, because face-to-face interaction
at
is
the
what
high school level, like
yeah.
kids, they like to see you, and it's nice to have that.
How
connection.
Long have we been going here?
1 hour and 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. So, let's tie it up. How are we feeling about schools? So, schools are not reopening. We are doing distance learning. You do not have a date of when things would change. It's
No,
just
it's
kind
all
of
based
evaluate
on
as according.
statistics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all the teachers I know are doing the best we can to prepare, even though we don't have definitive guidelines yet. And then I think we're just kind of making our stuff, and then we will adjust it. But we don't want to wait till like 2 days before the school year starts, which is only a month from tomorrow is the first day of school. So I think that's kind of where everyone's at. And, you know, taking the temperature of the community, and everybody's frustrated for different reasons, and that pops up in different ways.
So let's like try to end on a good note. What's like one positive thing that's come out of this new normal?
So this is where I'm actually excited about the online learning thing.
Okay.
Taking all those logistics and, you know, things aside out of it, it's a chance. You know, I try to do things differently every year, but I do know, like, hey, 9th grade, we start with this stuff. We do these assignments, these projects. This is how it works. 10th grade, we do this. This, I kind of have to rebuild everything from scratch or look at it through an entirely different lens. And it's forcing me to reevaluate things in a different way. It's also forcing me to look at building an infrastructure. Like, for that past couple of years, I've been wanting to use my program website as more of a resource, like, but I haven't figured out how. And now obviously I am, just because it's the easiest way to show my students where everything is. So my hope is that when it's done, there's going to be like, I'm going to be better equipped to provide more accessible resources to all of my students. And the cool part is, like, they are my students, but it's also like, it's a public website. Like, you know, in theory, like, anyone could stumble across it. And yeah, I've already put like tons of lesson plans and projects and things just up for people to download if they need them. So I think just building that and being a little more innovative, making things a little more accessible, reevaluating, I think will improve everything when we're back together in person in the actual classroom. And I'm kind of hoping that, because it is beneficial, and like I mentioned, you can do lessons that are a little more thorough and whatnot, that there's more of an element of the online learning sticks around,
right,
and is used as a valuable tool, even when we don't have to just do only online learning.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cool thing.
That's
to
great.
be excited about it, do things a little differently.
Yeah. Really quick. Oh, Aaron says, by the way, checked out the new podcast with Peter this week. Tom, really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I have not heard it yet, so I'm behind. But it's so hard. Like, I don't know when to listen to podcasts, guys. We spend 24/7 together. Like, unless we're both on the couch with our separate headphones in, like listening to different podcasts. I don't know. Damon says, while we're talking about animation, I really recommend The Midnight Gospel on Netflix. It's based off a podcast one of the producers used to do and touches on topics of mortality and community. The Midnight Gospel. Okay, cool. Okay. Noted.
We need new stuff, so thank you.
Yeah. Linda says, my son was just telling me about Dr. Stone. Have you watched that one?
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes. If you want to talk about like community working together to achieve
so
a goal.
Good. It's so good.
Plus, it's like really fun. Like, that is.
I love that show.
That's an upbeat show.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel
amped after.
Yeah. You're gonna get excited.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
That's a
really
good
cool
one.
That's a great note to end on, then.
Well, I also wanted to ask, like, what's one positive thing about this situation personally in your life, Tom, that, I don't know, you've either discovered or a new hobby or something new?
You know what, Heather? You've asked me a lot of questions. So why don't I let you answer that question first, so you can drive the discussion. What is something positive that you have experienced in the past 4 months, however many months it's been, 6 years that we've been quarantined together?
Okay, let me think about this. So I don't know how to say this in like one answer, but I've learned a lot about myself spending 24/7 with one person. You, obviously. Surprisingly, right? And obviously we're newlyweds, we're adjusting to this new, partnership in our lives together. But despite even being just the two of us, we don't have kids, like we don't really have to leave the house. Like, there's still challenges that we have to deal with independently, and to see how we've been able to support each other through that is like the coolest thing. And I really, I don't know, I can't speak hypothetical, but I want to say that I don't think I would have come to these realizations if everything was normal, because I wouldn't have been in those situations for me to learn them in the first place. One of the things that I'm working on right now, which I'm hoping to turn into a new vlog series, is I just enrolled in a 1-year group coaching online course training program, is what I'll call it. That was a huge investment for money and will be a huge investment of my time, but in terms of like me recognizing what I feel like is missing, what I really need in order to level up things in my business, this was the thing that I felt like I'm missing. But because of the huge investment, it was something that was really something I really had to think about and was stressing me out. And just to I don't even know like how I would have weighed the pros and cons without you, like the sounding board, and you knowing me, and you being able, because you're literally the only person who knows me as, like, sometimes even better than I know myself. And because I trust you, you're able to tell me like, no, Heather, or yes, Heather, or don't forget about this, Heather, or give yourself more credit, Heather. And before that, it was the mirror. Before that, it was like me doing yoga, telling like I had to like will myself into a better mood. So I know that's a
good answer.
Is it?
I think that's a great answer, because if you wanted to ask me, well, going off of that real quick, it reminds me of a long time ago, one of my best friends who you still haven't met because he lives in Georgia, but one of my best friends, we went to college together, and we met in like our early 20s, which is crazy because he's like, everybody's nearing up on 40 now. But I remember him talking about, we're talking about his college time, and I don't know, there was relationship discussion regarding someone. I don't remember who brought it up, but he brought up this idea of what it means to be supportive of somebody. And he said that there's a lot of people that mistake support for just blind enthusiasm. Like if you say, I want to do this thing, being supportive means you just go, yes, yes, yes. And if you say anything else, that means you're not supportive. And he was like, real support means you want to do this. Okay, let's look at it. There's this challenge, there's this obstacle, there's this con, but there are these pros. Like it really means like I'm supporting you by breaking it down and working through it with you. And so that I took that to heart, and I'm happy to hear what you said, because it means that clearly it stuck with me. Because I don't know that there's ever been a time where you've said something where either of us has brought up something to the other, and the other's just been, no, don't do that. I think it always either,
or even yes, do that,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the yeses are obvious, but
right, of course.
I think a lot of it is that support of like, okay, well, let's look at this. Let's see, what are the challenges, what are the pros, what are the cons? Let's break it down. Let's look at it realistically, like, because like you said, I'm a separate person, you're a separate person. We can recognize patterns in each other that we might not even necessarily be as aware of.
Yeah.
And being able to point those out is really, really helpful when it comes to just navigating the world and making decisions.
And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but honestly, like this is a very new thing to me. Like I've never had this, and it's oh my God, it's the best thing. I wish everyone can have, like, even if it's not a significant other or not, but there's one person that you feel like you could really trust to just, get you out of your own head, who has your best interest, in mind, who can tell you like it is, whether that's sometimes hearing, the tough love or the encouragement. Because I had like a super tough week, and Tom was just like I straight up, when I was debating about this program, I was like, I don't think I could do it. Like I just was in that mindset of like, I'm not good enough to be in this. Like, what if it doesn't work? Or, what if it's all a waste? And he was like, what? Like, this is not you, and
this is like the insecurity talking.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I can hear him say that, and I can trust him to know that that is true. Even though in the moment I'm like, no, but for real, like, what if I can't, it's like, anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a cheesy answer, but whatever. This is the couples table.
Yeah, this is a pretty genuine answer.
Yeah. So, there you go. Aubrey said, so good. Support does not equal blind enthusiasm.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you're working together. You're working with the person to see if there's a way to achieve the thing that they're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note,
You've been sitting at the couples table. It's time to clear the table.
oh, that's cute. That's a great ending. Yes. Oh my gosh. I just realized that last time we asked people for future episode topics.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't look at them.
Wait,
I think there was one, someone was like talking about YouTube.
Oh, well, we can use future episode topics for
Yeah.
next week.
So if you guys have any suggestions for future topics, please let us know. I forgot to check this, but I promise this time I will check. And my mom's calling me, so we better end it. So
perfect timing.
All right. Thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. We're thinking of you. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
And good night, Aaron. Get some sleep.
Good night.
All right. Bye.